Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this one, if you could just hit that button down below, that would help me out. But today's video is about another player that Leeds have been linked with a move for and apparently have had a bid rejected of around €4 million for Dejan Ljubičić from Köln in Germany. Now, a lot of English people will say that's Cologne, but if you actually say it how it's meant to be said in German, it's Köln. So he was a Rapid Vienna player, I believe, before that. So he is Austrian, and he's come from Rapid Vienna and joined Köln in the Bundesliga, and they did get relegated. So it does seem to be a little bit of a mould, I think, of players that we've been looking at, are players who've recently been relegated from the top division. And I've actually got a video coming out this weekend about another player that is not linked but a scouting report, so check that one out with a similar situation. But he's 6'1". He's kind of a number 6/number 8. He can play defensive midfield, attacking midfield, and right midfield. He's pretty versatile in that sense. He's not a world beater. He's not the best player in the world. He's decent, and I think he would bolster our our options nicely. So when we actually start to look at some of his statistics, then 26 matches played in the Bundesliga last season, no goals and 2 assists, XG of 1.9. So he should really be scoring 2 goals with that. Obviously, he didn't, so maybe that says something a little bit about his shooting, but it's not his forte anyway. He is 26 years old, just about a month older than me, and of course, yeah, like I said, he's Austrian. So let's have a little look at his statistics here versus midfielders. We're going to compare this to, because that'll be where he's playing for Leeds, and it's over the last 365 days compared to men's Big 5 leagues, UCL, UEL, over the last 365 days, based on 2,048 minutes played. So shots total then for versus midfielder, 1.67 per 90, puts him in the 85th percentile. That's really good. That shows that he is getting forward. He's getting into that final third, and he's creating and having shots on goal. His assists is fairly low, but his expected assists is actually a lot higher than that. Puts him in the 73rd percentile for expected assisted goals. So basically, he's put it on a plate for people and they've missed. That is often the case with sides that have been relegated from a division. Chances are created for them, but they don't take them, and that's eventually why they end up going down. And this plays out as well in his shot-creating actions. 2.68 shot-creating actions per 90 puts him in the 62nd percentile. Now, remember, I said this about the Jayden Bogle signing. He's being compared to the elite in the world, the top 5 men's leagues. So because he's being compared to the elite, he suffers a little bit in that aspect, but shot creating actions 2.68 puts him in the 62nd percentile, so he's quite a bit above average in that sense of creating chances for his teammates, which for somebody who would be playing in a number 6 role for Leeds, who would be given the license to get forward, but primarily will be sat alongside Ethan Ampadu or Ilya Gruev, whoever he would come in beside. It's a good statistic to have because it shows that he does get forward. Now, passes attempted and pass completion is really low here, and progressive passes. So this is something that does worry me a little bit. This is why I said he's kind of an average player. He's not the best player. Passes attempted per 90 for a midfielder, 37.05. That puts him in the 15th percentile. So he's in the bottom 15%. It's really, really low. And it kind of plays out with his pass completion, 79.5. That puts him in the 30. That's percentage. That puts him in the 30th percentile. And then progressive passes, so trying to get the ball forward, puts 3.69, puts him in the 25th percentile. Now, of course, like I said with Jayden Bogle as well, these statistics can be skewed by the fact that he's playing in a Bundesliga team who got relegated, and therefore they're at the bottom of the division the whole season. They're having a lot of their games, they're not going to have much possession at all. The opposition's going to dominate the ball. Having said that, you would expect that to be a little bit higher, even especially the pass completion rate as well. So that's a little bit worrying, but it doesn't mean to say that he can't pass the ball. It just means to say that over the last season or so, he's not had that many even attempted passes. An 80% pass completion rate is not the worst in the world, but it's not that great either. But in a possession dominant side, you could see those statistics shoot from the red to the green very, very quickly. So it's something to be aware of, that whilst that might look really bad, once you get into a team like Leeds who dominate a lot more of the ball, I think he's more than capable of keeping possession. Progressive carries, though, is good. This is something that we talked about with Joe Rothwell, and we talked about with Stuart Armstrong, Gabriel Sara, and Nicholas Castro as well when we did that series about who could replace Glenn Kamara. It was something that I liked about those players, was that they had progressive carries. They like to carry the ball forward, and with 1.8 per 90, that puts them in the 70th percentile. So way above average for that, carrying the ball forward, breaking the lines by dribbling with the ball. And I think it's something really, really good to have. So I think that's potentially why he may be identified a little bit. Glenn Kamara didn't do a great amount of that sort of thing. So it's interesting to see that Leeds are kind of looking at that profile of player to try and go forward into those situations. Touches in the attacking penalty area as well is really high, 1.63, which puts him in the 67th percentile. So again, he's getting forward, he's getting high up the pitch, he's helping out the attackers as well, which is something that, like I said before, we did lack last season. Having somebody who can go forward, help the attackers out, and be that extra man to receive the ball. And of course, that as well comes down to his progressive passes received. So basically, he's on the end of a forward ball. So that shows that he's high up the pitch. He's helping out his teammates. 3.21 received per 90, which puts him in the 73rd percentile. So again, those are really positive statistics. These last kind of 3 or 4 statistics that I've talked about are really, really positive, because it shows that he does get up the pitch. He's willing to take the ball on the half turn, try to create something, and he's up there quite a lot of the time. Now, when we move on to his defensive statistics, it's not great. Tackles 1.89 per 90, puts him in the 45th percentile. Interceptions and blocks are really, really low as well. It's not great, but having said that, he would be playing alongside somebody like Ethan Ampadu, so the defensive responsibilities that he might have wouldn't be as much as you might think. So yes, he would have to be in the right place at the right time, but that comes down to coaching and systematically where will Farke want him to be in certain situations, and those interceptions and tackles and stuff start to come up a little bit more. I mean, if you watched my video from yesterday, I analysed all of the highlights. Basically, it's about a half an hour long video. I analysed all the highlights from the Hanover game, so if you want to check that out, because I do think it's quite a good video for people to see how Leeds are going to play this season. But he would fit in nicely to that, because if we are pressing like we did in that first half, if we are trying to sit higher up the pitch, he's going to be in the right place more at the right time to be able to press and win the ball back. And again, it's another situation where you can see those statistics start to rise up. It's hard to fully quantify how good or bad a player is based on who they've been playing for, especially if they've been playing in a situation like Köln were, where they got relegated from the Bundesliga. So again, when you look at this Leeds player statistics when we got relegated, they'd have been right down there. But then when you look in the Championship, they've gone right up again because of the opposition you're playing against. So just with a pinch of salt, that's what we take those statistics. Visually, on the eye test, yes, he does get forward a lot. He likes to make runs, a little bit like the Gruev goal, to be honest, where in that game yesterday, if you saw that, if you didn't, again, check out that video I made. But he would play the ball in and make a little a 1-2 and a third man run past the strikers into the box, trying to get on the end of things. He will do that. He will get forward. He's got a decent strike on him as well. I think he's been unlucky not to score any goals this season with some of the shots and goals that I've seen him score in the past, especially when he was back in Austria. And so players like Max Verber, we don't really have... Brendan Aronson as well, probably will have played against him and will know what type of player he is, and potentially there's a little bit of a bedding in period, but hopefully those two will help him if Max Verber decides to stay in the end. But yeah, he does like to get forward. He likes to score goals. He likes to try and create goals. He hasn't been fantastic at doing it over the last season, but I think in the Championship he'd have a good chance of doing so. It's a physical league, though. People talk about how players might struggle coming into this league, but he's a big lad. I think he can handle himself, and I think he'd be a decent signing for what will be a revised offer. Apparently, Leeds will be going back in for another bid on Ljubičić, and so we'll kind of wait to see over the next day or two what that ends up at. But I think it'll probably be around 5 or 6 million euros, and for that money, I think it's maybe slightly expensive given some of the options that we've looked at over the last couple of weeks in terms of the scouting that I've done on the channel. Maybe slightly expensive, but it's still on the side of probably a good deal to have as a backup. Certainly strengthens the squad. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.